All you have?
There.
My girl is worried about you. We were talking about you when that kid spilled that drink on her. She says you're not drinking, but you're getting drunk anyway. Anybody that can do that has got a problem. It's a funny thing, isn't it?
Very funny.
It's worse at night, isn't it? I think maybe it's suddenly not having a lot of enemies to hate anymore. Maybe it's because for 4 years now we've been focusing our mind on one little peanut. The win the war peanut, that was all. Get it over. Eat that peanut. All at once, no peanut. Now we start looking at each other again. We don't know what we're supposed to do. We don't know what's supposed to happen. We're too used to fighting. But we just don't know what to fight. You can feel the tension in the air.
As soon as World War II ended, the Cold War began. As soon as the Cold War began, Hollywood became involved. In 1947, Joseph McCarthy began the House Committee on Un-American Activities, which attempted to oust supposed communists from Hollywood. Then we had films like Our Son John, where a family discovers their son is a communist.
Darling.
Conscience must be nauseated. The lower you sink, the higher you rise in your party, don't you, John?
There were also films that criticized the Red Scare, like The Day the Earth Stood Still.
And you will forgive me if I speak bluntly. The universe grows smaller every day, and the threat of aggression by any group, anywhere, can no longer be tolerated. There must be security for all, or no one is secure. And this does not mean giving up any freedom, except the freedom to act irresponsibly.
With the Vietnam War, Americans grew tired of the Cold War, and thus films about the Cold War were few and far between. But then the 1980 presidential election happened, and a movie star who had once testified against his fellow filmmakers became president. Ronald Reagan brought back Cold War rhetoric,
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
and Hollywood quickly followed suit with films like Rocky IV, Red Dawn,
What's going on here, my friend?
but by 1988, Hollywood wasn't taking the Cold War that seriously, as evidenced by the 1988 movie Red Heat.
We try to protect the rights of individuals. It's called the Miranda Act, and it says that you can't even touch his ass.
I do not want to touch his ass. I want to make him talk.
I'm gonna handle this one, okay?
And then, no more peanut.
From the Berlin Wall specifically, take a look at them. They've been there since last night. They are here in the thousands. They are here in the tens of thousands. Occasionally they shout, Die Mauer muss weg, the wall must go. Thousands and thousands of West Germans come to make the point that the wall has suddenly become irrelevant. Something, as you can see, almost a party.
In Hollywood, one Cold War character was also feared to be irrelevant. After 1989's License to Kill, the longest break between Bond films began, ending in 1995 with the release of GoldenEye. What are you supposed to do with a character like Bond in a post-Cold War world? It seems that this anxiety spilled onto the pages of the screenplay in this terse scene with Bond's new boss.
You don't like me, Bond. You don't like my methods. You think I'm an accountant. A bean counter more interested in my numbers than your instincts.
The thought had occurred to me.
Good. Because I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur. A relic of the Cold War. whose boyish charms, though wasted on me, obviously appeal to that young woman I sent out to evaluate you.
All at once, no Peanut. Now we start looking at each other again. We don't know what we're supposed to do. We don't know what's supposed to happen.
In GoldenEye, with no Cold War Peanut left, MI6 starts looking at each other. What they find is an enemy within.
Did he come back?
Why?
Hilarious question. Particularly from you. Did you ever ask why? Why we toppled all those dictators, undermined all those regimes? Only to come home. Well done, good job, but sorry, old boy. Everything you risked your life and limb for has changed.
It was the job we were chosen for.
Of course you'd say that. James Bond, Her Majesty's loyal terrier.
That self-reflexivity worked well for one film, but without the central enemy of the Cold War, the Bond series quickly fell into absurdity. In the real world, we had moved on to terrorism as the new threat, but terrorism doesn't work for Bond. There's no real arms race with terrorist organizations to keep the stakes high, no central nation one could point to as an enemy state, and from its start, the War on Terror had too many detractors to ever make it a huge success at the box office. It was so bad that M changed her tune on the Cold War.
Who the hell do they think they are? I report to the Prime Minister, and even he's smart enough not to ask me what we do. Have you ever seen such a bunch of self-righteous, arse-covering prigs? They don't care what we do, they care what we get photographed doing. And how the hell could Bond be so stupid? I give him 00 status and he celebrates by shooting up an embassy. Is the man deranged? And where the hell is he? In the old days, if an agent did something that embarrassing, he'd have the good sense to defect. Christ, I miss the Cold War.
And M isn't alone. We've seen numerous instances of Cold War nostalgia in the entertainment industry. The Good Shepherd, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, The Americans, remakes of The Manchurian Candidate, and Red Dawn. And even media that is heavily influenced by the Cold War, like Captain America: Winter Soldier.
To build a better world sometimes means tearing the old one down. And that makes enemies.
And the Fallout series.
Whether or not you're ready.
This wasn't the world I wanted, but
Even
it
if
was the
these
one I
movies
found
and
myself
games
in.
are critical of the Cold War, there still seems to be something comfortable
This time
about the
I'm
setting
ready.
for us to keep revisiting it
Because I
a
know
quarter of a
war.
century after its end.
War never changes.
And now, with tensions between America and Putin increasing, one has to wonder if the nostalgia goes beyond our films and video games and spills into our geopolitics. It might be a good idea to stop and consider what the consequences are of having a second helping of the Cold War peanut.